Hello and welcome to Hidden Existence. Hope everybody's doing all right out there tonight. We've got a good show tonight. He's another co-host of Bigfoot Odyssey. He does the late show with Kerry, and I'm kind of thinking I don't know much about Bradley. It's Bradley Hatcher, of course. Welcome, Bradley.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome. But as I was saying, we should get to know each other a bit more because we're doing the same thing with Kerry. And I thought, I don't know much about this man. I'm not sure about him. And then I saw one night you let your dog on the sofa, and I thought, yeah, he's my kind of man. He's the man I want to speak to. Well, how let's start back with how did you get into Bigfoot anyway?
Oh boy, I got into Bigfoot so unexpectedly. Is I was either 9 or 10 years old, and my dad bought a ranch in East Texas, and it hadn't been. This was back in '75, and it had not been occupied. Nobody had lived there for 20 plus years, so it was you couldn't see the entrance to it. Everything was overgrown, and I was given my first. I had a 410 single shot shotgun. So I'd always wanted to go in the woods as a kid, and that's what we did back then, go and play. And so, I was always trying to squirrel hunt or just do any kind of hunting. And even though I didn't really know what I was doing, it was fun. And so originally, what happened was I was in the woods. It was really really thick, and I saw a black figure, and to me, it looked like a black man. So I was kind of thinking there's not supposed to be anybody here. It was about 100 yards away, and I just caught a glimpse. And then I would sit down next to a tree, and then I would catch another glimpse. And so I asked my dad, I said, Dad, I saw a black man in the woods. And he was like, no, are you sure? And I'm sure he was thinking, is it your imagination? And so I just kind of like, okay, because he said, there shouldn't be anybody in the woods. So I saw the figure probably I could recall 3 or 4 times that I remember now, and that I just couldn't figure out what it was. And towards the end of when my dad sold it, we were walking along the property line, and it walked about 100 yards and crossed the road in front of us. And so my dad immediately said, he grabbed me, and we turned around and we started walking the other way. And I asked him what it was, and he just deflected and just kept deflecting. And then the next thing I knew, he sold it. It seems to me like within a week. It could have been within a month, but when you're that age, you think timing's not great. So I kind of was asking around and whatnot, and thought maybe it could be a Bigfoot. And this was also about that same time period, I saw the Legend of Boggy Creek, and that just scared the hell out of me. I mean, it terrified me. So I figured, okay, that's what I saw. And I just always had an interest about Bigfoot growing up. And like a lot of people, I, would go to the library and check out whatever books I could find about it. And I think there were a couple of things that were on TV that I saw about it. And then, just really not much out there, came, on TV or in books or in articles or whatnot. And so, and plus during that time period and all the way through until recently, I was a really big hunter, and, I would have experiences. It would seem like they just never made sense. And when they didn't make sense, like a lot of people, I just kind of was like, oh, whatever, and kept on doing my thing. And then when I had another surgery and I was laid up, it was my second knee replacement on the same knee, which is called a revision. I started watching YouTube, or started kind of perusing because I was bored, and I saw the Bigfoot channels that were out there, and I just started watching stuff and became more and more interested. And then, it kind of became a quiet hobby or passion or something of that nature. And it just started building after that. This is about 2015 or 16, I guess. And I just became more and more interested until, voila, here I am.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? How we've both got to where we're at in that sense. So I guess it was something that you kept to yourself for quite a while then, because of the reaction of your father.
Right. And I would talk to buddies that I would hunt with, and everybody, it was kind of one of those things that whenever you mentioned it, ridicule would always be associated with it, or some sort of, guys will tend to be really hard with each other and mess with each other. And it was just a subject, especially with the people that I hunted with, that it was just always a no, or maybe. And you just didn't talk about it. So yeah, I didn't tell anybody about what happened to me when I was young until I started watching, and really till I started watching Bigfoot Odyssey, and was, watching travel shows and stuff, and kind of, it just slowly grew to where I got to the point where I wanted to, to tell somebody that would actually listen to me and go, huh, I believe you. And so that's how, kind of all of this developed, was just by reaching out to Carrie. And I
great timing, Tracy Bowers, of this question.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you reached out to Kerry?
I did reach out to Kerry. I actually, yeah, because I remember on one of his shows, he had mentioned, if you want to, tell your experience or whatever, to call him. And so I found his number, and I left him a voicemail, and he called me right back. And I think the first time, I think we were on the phone for about 1 to 2 hours talking about it, and then we just hit it off. And he asked me if I wanted to come on the show and tell my encounter. And I kind of hemmed and hawed, and really, kind of initially kind of thought he was kidding me, but then he asked again, and I was like, okay, sure, why not? And so we did that one, that I believe it was a late show. And then, soon thereafter, he asked me if I wanted to co-host it with him. And again, I thought, no, I can't do this. I'm not like a lot of these people that have channels and whatnot. And so we talked some more, and we were talking a lot, actually. And we both had a lot of the same views on things, and, just thought of the whole Bigfoot genre, so to speak, that, we just thought the same way. And so he asked me to, do the late show, and I did. And I kind of figured it would be a one and done deal. And he, said, we're going to do it again. And I'm like, you sure? And I kind of felt like, oh, he's going to tell me I'm not any good, or I was horrible or whatnot. And then he just, finally, it kind of sunk in that, I was a part of a Bigfoot Odyssey. But it took about 2 or 3 months for me to actually to feel like I was, because I just didn't see myself as a host or a researcher or anything like that. So it's been quite the journey, and hadn't even been a year yet.
Yeah. I mean, I felt the same as well. It's a weird thing, isn't it? From sitting on the settee to watching YouTube channels, and just maybe leaving an odd comment and flicking through them, to suddenly talking to people that you've been watching.
Right.
Is a weird thing, but also interesting. I love the fact that it just change the perspective of when you get to know these people a little bit more. You see a lot more than what you just see on the channels, just the videos that they're putting up. That's one aspect of it that I really enjoy, is getting to know people a bit more, getting to know these researchers and people who are, having encounters and things like that. But yeah, I never thought I would be interviewing them. I was just like you, just listening, watching. But as Kerry says, everybody's got, an opinion. Everyone's opinion is worth listening to. And I guess we've been lucky that we can be here and do it and say it for lots of people to hear. And, you know, I think Bigfoot Odyssey has turned into it's always been a great thing. I mean, you know, from the first documentary, which Kerry knows is my favourite,
Right.
but how it's developed with the late shows and the researchers report, you know, as I think we all do work. Oh, sorry. We all work well together, and it is a team. You know, we're all doing our thing. So did that? It's kind of similar to Kerry's encounter as well, isn't it? There's a slight.
It is, but I didn't know any better, I guess, and you know, I didn't have one that close to me, you know, showing teeth and verbalizing, and so it wasn't that scary. Like if that would have happened to me at that age, I probably either would have fainted or took a shot at it, or you know, started crying, because I can't imagine, you know, being that age and having something like that happen. You know, Carrie's, it's just his thing. It just blows my mind, because I don't know how I would have reacted at that age if that would have happened to me. But it's, you know, back to your point, I think that it's funny how we all, you know, you and I really don't know each other that well, but I've been watching you forever now, and you know, I knew how great of a job you did when we were in Florida, and it's kind of fun. I was looking forward to this, and just because I think we were on one show one time where we spoke about trying to keep everything in the fairway, and so that was last summer, I guess, and it's been fun to be part of watching Bigfoot Odyssey grow, and just, you know, everybody in the chat and whatnot are always so nice and so supportive, and you know, it's very humbling to know how, you know, when people say nice things, and it's a wonderful feeling, and I never, you know, a year ago I would have laughed and said there was no way in hell I would have been doing this, because it's completely opposite of what I've done in the past, but yet at the same time it was perfect timing, because, you know, in my life I got to a point where, you know, you start looking at friends, you go, are they really friends or are they not really friends? And so I kind of was doing, and I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but I was just reevaluating where I was and what I was doing. And you know, one thing about Florida that I really liked was that, you know, all of us that were down there, it was just such a really cool bond. It was like, you know, playing sports back in high school or something like that. You just had that bond of being in the trenches, and so it was just an awesome experience.
Mm.
It was, you know, I think I grew. It challenged me more than I ever would have thought, you know, because I had besides the truck incident, which was nobody's fault, you know, in the middle of what was going on, we were all trying to figure everybody out and trying to figure out exactly what we should be doing. And, you know, so I kind of had to, you know, look at myself and figure out, okay, you know, I need to, you know, to get everybody, you know, tighter and have everybody be more supportive. And I talked to Carrie about it, and we got in a really intense conversation at probably 1 a.m. And it was one of those things that I had to figure out on my own, and thank goodness I did. Baby, quit it. And so it just really worked out well. It was so much fun, and you know, I really can't wait till this fall till we go back.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, not just suddenly doing, you know, being on YouTube. You've ended up going on an expedition looking for Bigfoot, all within the space of I don't know how long.
Oh, I know.
It's just a bit wild, that, isn't it?
It was totally. I mean, it was crazy, Danielle. I mean, you know, because I'd seen Mark Newell before, and I've heard, you know, Christopher Noel, and I'd heard of Barry, and you know, being, especially, you know, just being there with these guys that I've seen, and that are researchers, that really are researchers, and I Yes, I've hunted, but I've never researched. And so that was just so insanely cool because for the, probably one of the few times in my life I was actually quiet and I was listening and observing just to try to see how they viewed a certain situation or what they thought about things. And that was just, I mean, what a blast for the first time to research to be with these guys. It was awesome.
Mm. Well,
It was.
tell us about how, I'm sat here in England. I haven't got a clue, what I would do. What surprised you the most? What did you think? Oh, this will be easy research, or maybe not that, but were you surprised at how difficult it was? Because I guess it
Yeah,
was difficult. You all of you worked hard for 7 days, uh, and a lot of energy was put into it. What was your, kind of thoughts on it all?
I initially, when I was driving there, I sometimes get, I don't want to say anxiety attacks, but before I do things, I always get a little bit of anxiety where I kind of go through this process where I start turning a little negative and kind of, do I really want to do this? I got to drive to Florida. What am I doing? All that sort of thing. I have no business being here. This was just my, talking to myself and thinking to myself. And then when my truck broke, or when I had that check engine light flash on Monday when I was driving to Carrie's house, I was like, is that an omen? I was like, okay, God, does this mean I shouldn't do this? And, very thankful to Mary because she's like, no, don't, stop it. You're going to have fun. Stop it. And I'm like, yeah, I know I will. But then at the same time, I was like, shit, I got to drive to Florida. I haven't camped out since I was in the 6th grade. I got to sleep in a tent. Just all this range of emotions. And then it would kind of get back to, well, I'm going to be around a bunch of really cool people and people that I know I would enjoy being around. So I kind of kept going in my mind this little, I'm just, just going through my mind. And the drive, you start thinking of all sorts of things. And, putting the tent up was funny because, it was literally one strap you throw on the ground and poof, you got a tent. So camping surprised me that I actually enjoyed it more than I thought of. Now, granted, I had a big old air mattress and it was, sheets and I had little fans you put batteries in inside. So it would, it would blow on me. So in case I got hot. So it was nice, but number one, I never thought I would have enjoyed that, but just, the whole thing about camping out and, I was a little apprehensive, I guess, about because, quote unquote, researching, I haven't done it before. Hunting, yeah, I mean, I've done that my whole life and I've done it, I've been fairly successful, but researching, I just didn't know how I would fit in with that. And, after it was kind of one of those things that after the truck experience and then, not getting any sleep at all, because we were, constantly, we were up late at night and wake up, first thing when the sun came up. So you almost get to that stage where you're kind of running on autopilot where you're just doing it without thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, and that's like when you play sports. I played, soccer in college or whatnot. And I always would I would play my best when I would just play without thinking. Where you just kind of go in that zone. And it seemed like that with the researching and everything, I just got into that zone where I was able to figure out what everybody was doing and why. But then at the same time, people were so incredibly nice to me and were so inclusive and were just inviting me in and asking my opinions. And a lot of it was because, I co-host a late show. So, I had a lot of people not a lot of people, but I had several people that said, oh, wow, it's so, great to meet you. I've watched, all your shows. And I'm sitting here kind of like, where's Carrie or where's Mark Newble or where's, Chris Noel or whatnot. Cause I was like, you're talking to me and so that was very, very flattering. It was extremely. I was very humbled by it, and it was just so nice and so sweet, and it just was really cool. So it was kind of like the perfect storm happened, and the next thing you know, when I'm driving back, I'm like, well, shit, I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed meeting everybody, and I liked everybody, and I liked the guys because it was, we all came from such different backgrounds, but yet we were all there for the same reason, and so we had and leaving our lives, to go down there for 10 days, and that's a big ask, and all of us did it, and so we kind of had the bond was built, and it was a really strong bond, and it was just fun. I mean, when I had the truck meltdown after that, it was Mark Newble and Barry Browning and Russell Mogion, and then Lynn and Stevie. We all sat around and just laughed because they were making fun of me, but I would have made fun of me too with how just mad as a rat that I got about having to ride in the back of that truck. And I wasn't mad at anybody. I was just mad at because it just scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And I got so pissed because I was like, there's no way I'm going to fall out of this truck. No way. They are not going to get out of hearing me give them an ass chewing. And so, I mean, I was gripping on, and I mean, I cut my fingers on the, riding on Carrie's tank because I just would not let go. I mean, there was no way I was going to fall off. And so, it was, so we laughed about that because, Barry Browning said, I was, a couple of things that I said that he would turn around and walk off laughing. And I never knew it because if I'd have seen him laughing, it would have just pissed me off even more. So it was, I know, swear jar.
It's $10 a word. I did forget to tell you that before the show. Sorry.
I thought it was if I said, GD or the F word or something that began with a B. And okay, I didn't know.
The jar's pretty low at the moment, so any word really.
Okay, I understand. So
I'll let it go. It's you. I'll let you off.
That's my first warning.
That's your first.
I never cuss. Never ever cuss on the Late Show, and I love to cuss. Oh, yeah. Believe me, I do. But then at the same time, it's I'm kind of have gone. Wow, I couldn't believe I could go that long without cussing.
I'm surprised myself sometimes, but
Oh yeah, you must. I mean, with some of the
do it, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes don't you just want to go, like WTF? I mean, that's you just like
I know. We all get. Oh, hello, Nicholas. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
A member of the Hidden Existence family. And Brandy. Thank you so much, Brandy. Oh, look at that. She's covering you.
Thank you, Brandy.
Sweet.
That is sweet.
We all need a Brandy in our lives, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
That's right. It would be, wouldn't it, over there? It does convert to a lot more when you've got the exchange rate and everything. So it's a good little business. If people don't watch what they're saying, it could be a good little business.
Now, are we doing pound or dollar, or are you gonna throw a curveball at me and do euro?
I just say $10. I've said $10 to everybody, so it kind of keeps it open then. Or it could be £10. It could be 10 Canadian dollars, whatever works for anybody.
I have some lira, some old lira.
Or
some francs that are. I could give you.
It's all euro now, unfortunately.
I know it. It's,
maybe. No, we don't. We don't, Cornell.
Bitcoin.
Or American Express or anything like that. It's just hard PayPal.
Yeah, do you take Diners Club? Or Carte Blanche? I mean, whatever. Do they still have a Diners Club?
I don't know. I think there's still American Express, isn't there? But I remember that Diners Club. And
then was it Carte Blanche or it was Carte something? But this was back in the Jeff, thank you, Jeff.
Jeff is telling on me. Yeah.
Oh,
Who needs enemies with friends like this? Telling on me.
yes. Oh, Jeff. I tell you what, Jeff Townsend.
Yes, I love him.
Oh,
You
we
can't,
had more fun one night. Jeff and I sat at the campsite because the way we were camped out was almost in an L shape around this field, and so just Jeff and I stayed in this one area because Stevie had said that stuff was throwing things at her, and she was hearing a lot of okay, yeah, carte blanche. Thank you, Marie. And if I said that correctly, it's a Vizsla. His name is Bailey. He's a little over 4 years old now. He's snoring, which is good. So Jeff and I stayed around this one area, and we started getting stuff chunked at us. And I've said, I've heard about people having rocks thrown at them, or like Chris Noel had pine cones and things like this. So the first one that came in, I saw it, and I was like, son of a blank. Now everyone's got me self-conscious. And I was like, Jeff, did you see it? And Jeff was, Jeff can't hear very well sometimes, and so he didn't see it or hear it come in. So about 3 or 4 of them came in, and I'd be like, Jeff, and he didn't hear it. And then finally one came in and he heard it because it was pretty loud, and I was like, thank you. Yes, somebody else, heard it. I mean, that was trippy, having rocks chunked at me. But then at the same time, it made me start thinking, I wonder if stuff was ever thrown at me in the past, and I just thought it was something dropping out of a tree, or just one of those sounds that you hear in the woods, and you just kind of go, whatever. So
I think
anyway,
start getting into this subject, and I can't speak from experience, but I've picked up off people that after a while, suddenly all these, what if, because like you say, there's so many things that go off that you just don't really jot down. But then I made a connection. Something happened to me 10 years ago now. And I think it was a big cat. Growling at me. And
oh, wow.
we're not supposed to have them here, but they are. We have some loose wild cats here. And it was the growling, and it followed me down this lane. It was on the other side of this hedge. I don't know how long the experience happened. It maybe a minute or something as I'm walking down this lane. It was one evening with my dogs, and I completely forgotten about it. But it triggered watching Bigfoot, people talking about growling. And for one reason or another, I tried to put myself in someone's position of how they might feel. And I thought, oh, hang on a minute. I know how that feeling feels. And I'd remembered this experience. And I guess that's the same for people who suddenly have a realization of what it is.
Right.
Things start to pop up in the mind of like, I remember that time. Maybe that could have been it. Or I'm just sorry. I'm just looking through the chat as well because of
it's just so weird. It's when you heard that, what were your dogs doing?
Nothing, which was the weirdest thing. I remember the night, it was Christmas night, 2010. I walked up to my friend's farmhouse, and she was having like an open party, an all day party thing for Christmas. And I decided about 7:30 at night to walk up the lane there, which is about a mile or so from my house. And it was snowy. It had been snowing. It was a full moon, so it was very bright. I had no reason, not to walk up there. It never bothered me. It doesn't bother me to walk out at night anyway. Mm-hmm. So I went up there, left about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And it's a bridle path. And a bridle path is like an access road to a property,
Right.
So it was just off the main road, and it's a bit bendy because it's going through fields. There's tall hedges either side of me, all the way up. And got halfway down, and suddenly I can hear this growl. And I originally thought it's maybe like a motorbike engine in the distance. It was so faint, but something. And then it just started to get louder and louder. And I realized that this is something in the field next to me. And the dogs were off the lead and they were in front. And I'm waiting for them to react. And I didn't want to call them or put them on the lead. I didn't want to project anything. I just wanted to try and work out in my head what's going on and keep walking. And just luckily, this car started coming down. They must have left the party. They slowed down a bit as I'm studying, because this path is only enough room to get a car down. And I kind of stood in the middle of the lane while I got the dogs on the lead, and then I moved to the side. And I just jogged along the side of the car as it went down to get onto the main road. And even at that point, I was looking back, still feeling quite vulnerable. But I'm pretty level-headed, you know. I can keep cool in a situation, but I really felt like that's definitely. I've really felt it, and I questioned myself a lot because none of it makes sense. If I'd have been into Bigfoot back then, I'd have gone back the next day and I would have looked for prints because it was snowing. It would have been an ideal.
Oh, it would have been so easy, yeah.
To go and have a look. But I mean, I wasn't even in that kind of mindset, or, you know, Bigfoot wasn't even on my radar. Wasn't even thinking about it. But I did look on the internet, and there'd been a report 3 days earlier, about 16 miles away from me, where the sighting was, where I heard the thing, was by the main railway line, and a train driver had reported something large crossing the tracks just 3 days earlier, about 16 miles down the road from me. There's lots and lots of reports in the UK of big cats. But then I think, okay, why? If it was going to get me, it wouldn't have made a noise. There was a hedge between us. Why did it need to growl? Was it protecting something? Were the dogs a threat? There's a lot of questions, and I still think, did I really hear it? I'm pretty sure I did, because I've never forgot it, and it's been something that's really, I remember feeling worried, you know, vulnerable, like this is something like Simba or something off the Lion King.
Right.
You don't hear those noises from sheep or cows or whatever would be in that field. So yeah, lots of questions to what is this, you know?
And you know what, that brings up a good question is I've always thought when things growl at you, like if it's a cat or you know, if it's a Bigfoot, I wonder sometimes if they do it, or especially, and I'll just talk about a cat, because I've been around mountain lions a couple of times, because where I used to hunt in West Texas, we always used to have one that would come by about every month and would always walk this same creek bottom, and I never heard it, but I would find its tracks. But it always made me wonder, when they growl, do they growl to, you know, number one, do they think that, you know, that they're there, or do they do it just to see what your reaction would be if they're kind of feeling a little mischievous, to see if you freak, then they're going to screw with you. You know, so there's a lot of different ways, and I wonder sometimes when people hear Bigfoot that, or Sasquatch that growl at them, are they doing it just to see what the reaction is going to be?
Oh.
And I've always thought, if there's any, you know, you hear the whole arguments about the DNA and what's in them and what's not, and you know, if they have any human, and you know, you hear that they have some human DNA, that if you got to think they get mischievous and just enjoy scaring the hell out of us. Oh, there we go again, scaring the bejeebers out of us, just to laugh, because you know, if there's one, it seems like there's always, you know, two or three around them.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they do that just to, you know, it's kind of like guys and girls do, like, hey, watch this. Let's see who can get this person to freak out the most. So, you know, that's, you know, back to what you're saying. It's really trippy, because I think when I was in Florida, I thought of some times that I'd completely forgotten about, but they registered enough that I remembered it, and it just kind of makes you go, you know, what do you think about this? Now, something just popped in my mind. When you do this, do you ever feel like sometimes when your mind starts wondering that you're on a phone call instead of doing a YouTube?
Sometimes I forget, and I'm just talking to the person like you now.
Yeah.
It's because I talk to a lot of people offline in this way. like you have your meetings, I guess, for the expedition was done in
Right.
StreamYard. I meet up with people from all over the place, even my friends in town. I might meet them one night and chat in StreamYard. So yeah, sometimes I forget, and then I think, oh, there's people in the chat. I better go and have a look and see.
Oh yeah, you know when we did it, and I can spill the beans on me now, but when we did the show, where I think we had it was a late show, and we had 5 or 6 expedition members on, and I was sitting, right where I am now, which I typically do it from another part of the house, which where I sit in a more uncomfortable chair, to keep the posture going right. And right now I like being in here because I can have my foot up. But I started, during the meeting, or for whatever reason, my mind, let's welcome Ice.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ice. An enigma. Sorry,
But,
I had to get that.
No, but it was, and I'm so used to welcoming him now because the late show, I'm, welcome. But all of a sudden, I started daydreaming in the middle of the show, and then my mind went to, I'm on a Zoom call, and I started talking about, boy, howdy, I can't wait till I start packing, and is everybody else excited about it? And all of a sudden, I could hear people going, and started trying to get my attention. And I kept on going, and I felt like, I was a towhead blonde when I was a kid, and I guess it popped out because, I went for, I didn't say very much, but it was enough where everybody was trying to get my attention. And then I was like, oh, blank. I hope nobody caught that. I was giving up when we were getting ready to go. And as soon as I see Barry saying, I remember that. As soon as the show ended, I was like, blankety blank, blank. And I was so apologetic because I just couldn't believe that I let my mind just zone out while doing the show. And so I was so embarrassed, and oh my goodness, I was like hoping, please, I hope nobody figured it out. And anyway, I don't know why I just thought about that, but it's just funny how that happens sometimes.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
I'll just go back to the. So I've Sharon said that her mum was it your mum saw a big cat in Shropshire? There's a lot of sightings around that area. Gloucester, Shropshire, is that all the same kind of, I think, in that kind of thing area? You know what the interesting thing though is that my dogs didn't react at all. That's the one thing that makes me question what happened, because the dogs, their duty has always been to guard me. They're really like serious about it, and for them to just carry on down the road, sniffing and doing what they do, not pick up on it at all. How could I imagined it? This is what I think.
Well, the wind, the dogs could have been, upwind from whatever was there, and they could have been. I mean, and I've seen this. I mean, we have 4 dogs, and I rescue older Vizslas, and so you can read your dogs, but sometimes certain things do happen where you just go, how did you miss that? You're a dog. Or like when squirrels are in the backyard, and they, every time they go outside, they're, their back gets straight and they get low to the ground, and they're just, wanting to try to catch a squirrel. And actually, when I was in Florida, 2 of our dogs caught squirrels for the first time ever. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe I missed that. Because then at the same time, you're kind of thinking, oh, poor squirrels. But then at the other time, you're going like, the squirrels have been taunting them for so long that, there you go. You kind of deserve it for jacking with the dogs for such a long time. So, to go back to your thing, sometimes dogs do just, they're so just locked in, and other times they're just, dope, and, just, zoning out, I guess.
Yeah. Or they're ripping a squirrel apart. I mean, one thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't really do that over here. We don't eat squirrel, let alone set our dogs. Well, I mean, I guess it does happen. There are people that go out and do that, but
I've eaten a squirrel before. I've squirrel hunted in South Alabama, and we ate squirrels. And my wife looks at me and just goes, like
was that
this.
your only choice? I mean, did you not have any other? Were you like starving that day, or was it?
I know it. Isn't that funny? And no, and we did it on purpose. I mean, we squirrel hunted,
Right.
because my dad was from Alabama, and he grew up in Southwest Georgia, North Florida, and in Alabama. And at the time, I remember him saying, that it was at a time where they didn't have any money, and so my dad would squirrel hunt
Mhm.
and bring home, that's how they got along sometimes. So I always, heck, squirrel tastes like chicken. So it was,
You can't
it
get a
was
lot.
actually
There's a lot of meat on a squirrel. Is it like a fillet?
none at all. I
Fine.
mean, hardly any.
Yeah.
And, when you cook them, and especially after you clean them or whatever, they just look like a big old rat on
Mm.
a grill. And that's what, she says, is, I can't believe you ate a big old rat, because she's like, look what they do to, getting in the house and eating the tree light wires. But out in the country, all they eat are nuts. So
Yeah.
anyway, I won't, yeah.
Yeah.
So have you ever had rabbit?
Yeah, I have. I'm not that keen on it, but though,
Right.
I liked frog's legs. Not
Yeah,
had them.
frogs like are good, aren't they?
Yeah, that was a long time ago when I didn't think much about frogs, but now I think a bit more about them. And I
Isn't
mean,
that
it's
funny?
yeah, yeah.
No, that
I eat meat, but actually, I don't like the way it's all done. And I like the idea of going out and hunting your own meat. Although I've never even, you know, be useless me. I've never even, done it. I couldn't
hmm
do it. Like I said, if you give me a chicken, I'd just wait for the eggs to come out. I probably wouldn't kill it.
right,
But I'll eat it. I'd eat chicken. It's just a different way of being brought up. A lot of you guys have been brought up with hunting. It's a natural part of life and growing up and what your family
right.
do and survival and all that. Whereas here, we've always had supermarkets or something to get our food from. We've never had to. Maybe in the olden days, used to go out and shoot rabbit and deers, but that's gone a long time ago here.
Oh yeah, no,
When I
yeah.
was around. So, um,
And I
yeah,
guess hunting in the UK is more, sport, from the sense of, I don't even know how much they do it, anymore, like they did in the olden days, where fox hunting, things like that. And you
that's
know
not.
it,
Yeah, I mean, they're not even eating the fox. They're just letting the dogs rip.
right.
30 dogs rip a fox apart. It's the most disgusting form of sport, if that's what they want to call it. Uh, I know they call it vermin and that. There's better ways to deal with stuff like that, and I just don't get the mentality of terrifying a little animal. No matter what it's done, everything has to survive. These animals, it's a way, it's how they live. And, it's just my personal opinion that
hmm
if you're going to kill something, take it out really quickly. Don't,
Right. Do the headshot. And it's, since I started rescuing older Vizslas, I used to I love to hunt. I mean, I would, if it was, dove season was September 1st, and, we would deer hunt if we're on a game managed ranch through the end of February. Always we're hunting, turkey, when turkey season would start, I'd be doing that. But then the more I got involved in rescuing older dogs, the less pissed off I got at shooting stuff.
hmm
It just didn't, I'd have somebody, if I need venison, I'll have somebody shoot one for me, or whatever. I just don't, I'm just not that mad at them anymore. And, I guess, I don't know if it's been there, done that, but it's, the bad thing about rescuing older dogs is you only have them for such a short time.
Yeah.
And, last year we lost two, and that just gutted me. I couldn't do it anymore. I told Mary, I said, I can't do it anymore. I mean, it just hurts too much. And when we lost Lou, I guess in early February, and then about a month later, a situation came up where Vishla was with a single parent, and he passed away, and she was 6 years old, and this rescue group, the Texas Vishla Rescue Group, they put her out there, and a lot of people were picking fly shit out of Pepper, or instead of just taking the dog no matter what, has she done this, or has she done that, and they were just so rescuing dog. It's a lot of people with some certain breeds, they want to rescue the younger ones because it's a way to not have to pay for the breed, and so it kind of irked me. So I went against my what I told myself I wasn't going to do, and so we took her in, and she's absolutely perfect. I mean, it's just like I've had her my whole life, and it seems like when you rescue dogs, they kind of they treat you like you've had them their whole lives, and so it's such a wonderful thing. But and I diverge, but anyway, that's why I don't hunt much
Yeah.
anymore, because I'm just not, it just, the satisfaction I used to get, it's just is gone. And plus now being involved with more in a daily just more involved with Bigfoot, I guess, or Sasquatch or whatever. It's so that time that I had to hunt is now focused on doing this, and especially now with 168, and looking forward to the fall and seeing what happens with this. It's just one of those crazy things that never in a million years would I have imagined that my life just did a complete 180, and bam, now I'm doing this. I mean, it's crazy cool, but at the same time, sometimes I wake up and going, what am I doing?
It's crazy.
Oh yeah, no,
It's because it's the most, I mean, for me, it's the most mysterious subject I've ever followed. The most addictive thing that just keeps you like on the edge of your seat, wondering what the heck this thing is. And to be involved in something like this and what's happening in the expedition, it's just crazy to really actually be at the forefront of one of the biggest things that's happening with Bigfoot at the moment. And there's no two ways about it. That's how I feel anyway. So yeah, it's crazy to be, up there with it, doing it, being part of it. Let's just go back to the expedition a little bit. What did you think was the best bit of equipment that they had there, bit of technology?
I thought, the thermal imaging is, it's two things. I had a really high end night vision infrared that was so cool, but then at the same time, I had a thermal, and you need both of them when you do this. And Mark Newble had just an unbelievable thermal imaging. I can't remember who made it, but I mean, it's just top of the line, and it helped so much. But this was one that was almost, it was so good that you would use it for hunting, and I've hunted with those before, and I mean, you see everything. It's just night and day. It's so clear. But the thermal is what's so exciting technologically wise, just because everything right now, it seems like you buy something in the fall or whatever, and it all kind of correlates around hunting, that then by that springtime they're putting them on sale because a better version is coming out. And so that was the coolest thing, because I was familiar with the thermals, but when you're looking at stuff, and I remember the night when we saw the lights, which was just the quote unquote orbs, which just I remember when last summer when we had that conversation about Bigfoot Odyssey, we're going to keep everything in the fairway. This is what we're going to discuss. And I was all for that. And I'm still that way. But then at the same time, I saw stuff that just was so illogical. And I was glad I was with other people that were researchers that saw it as well. I mean, that was just, like where did that come from? And so, thermal, you couldn't pick that up. But when we were seeing certain things, Mark Newell kept saying, check the perimeter, check the perimeter. So I had my thermal, and I would always go behind us. And, there were some huge trees where we were, just these massive trees. And I would catch a heat signature in front of a tree from about 50 yards away. And it wasn't like you could see, like what you see on TV with the thermal or whatever, where you see somebody walking or you can see the body and whatnot. It was just a blob. And so I would pay attention to it when I was checking behind us, and all of a sudden I'd go back and it would be gone. And you could check, sometimes it would say recalibrating, but, I would look at other parts of, other trees, and, there would be nothing there. And then I would go back and there would be something there. And so then I'd give it about 30 seconds and go back, and then it would be gone. So that was really, that was trippy. But at the same time, we were doing that, and then we were seeing lights and, trying to get them filmed and trying to debunk what it could possibly be. And so, like, for instance, Mogollon Monster was, really good, because we were all trying to figure out, like, there just can't be, this can't be happening. And so he brought up some really great points and, some things. But then at the same time, once you start getting deeper, trying to debunk something, it just brings up so many more questions and things that you didn't think about. So that was, and again, I diverged, and I'm kind of diverging a lot tonight, but it was just crazy cool. So
yeah. Tim Egan says, does Bradley believe improving technology will one day soon confirm Sasquatch reality? Do you think you've got the equipment, or you're going to have the equipment by the next time to really, or have you already caught? I mean, Kerry's not told me anything. Are you willing to tell us what you got?
Hold on, you're breaking up
on me. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, I can't.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that when I'm on the. I saw some stuff that, I had one of these military night vision that had the infrared on it. Like when you see on TV, like when they flip it down, like when you see like them in the like war movies or whatever, the helicopter pilots, they'll go, okay, we're going dark, and they'll flip something down, and you'll see. So I had one of those, and it was phenomenal. But the bad thing is, Danielle, is it did not have the capabilities to record. So having something that couldn't record, what happens? You kind of see some squirrely stuff. So, I saw some squirrely stuff that, we couldn't get recorded, but that was typical. I was almost jinxing myself, and I knew it was one of those things where I knew that I had it, that I was going to see something that I could not record. But if I'd have said it out loud, it wouldn't have happened. So I didn't say it out loud because I got superstitious with it. And sure enough, I, caught something, and it was pretty trippy, and only for a little bit, but it was, we saw some crazy stuff and some crazy cool stuff. And I know that Zasky put some stuff out on his Patreon channel about how he caught some things. And, I caught one doing something really squirrely, and he was blending in with fireflies.
Right.
And because of the way that looks, you would see, I was looking, and you could see with that night vision, it would be brighter. And, I was looking in an area, pretty right next to camp. And, I kind of had to, oops, I guess I'm breaking up again. Hold on. I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's all right. You've told us, don't want you to, give too much away.
But it's something that will be in 168 without a doubt. And it was, and that was, and I will say this, that, I figured where he was because Chad had a dog with him, and I was watching, just happened to look at the dog, and all of a sudden, when your dog does catch something, how they look, the ears will pin back, and then and this dog, the ears went funky like that, and then it kind of initially went forward, and then it backed up like it was, Squatch dog, like it was scared, and then that's when I got the my night vision up and was like, son of a blank, and of course, I had, and that was the only time that would happen because I jinxed myself afterwards when I said it. But, we caught, there was it was pretty interesting. As I said, it was so, I had my expectations, what I thought it would be on the high end, in my thinking of, if this is going to be a great trip, if this happens, and this happens, and it exceeded my expectations by a lot. So if that answers that question, it was just, I'm so glad I went, and I'm so thankful I was, had the opportunity to go, and it was just, I hope you can come in November. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully,
in the fall, that would be just great.
Yeah, just got the doggy situation to work on. Really is the main concern, but
I know.
We'll see.
I mean, how many dogs do you have?
I've just got one now. I just got the one now. So she's 14 and she's deaf, and I've never had to leave her anywhere with anyone. So, I feel a little bit mean kind of doing that. So I don't know. We'll see. Might have to kind of introduce her to someone and start getting her used to something. That's
so hard. We had the one, Lou was her name, the one that we lost a year ago, February, and she had I can't remember what it was. She had retinal disease, and she barely could see a little bit when I rescued her, and then she became blind. So she was a smaller Vizsla, and she was probably about 35 pounds, and Vizsla's range, from 35 upwards, and she was so small, and she was 14 years old, and before I would put her in her kennel, because she just got to that stage where we couldn't leave her out. I would hold her like a little baby and just rub her belly until she fell asleep, and then I would put her in her kennel, and that was my first experience with a dog, a blind dog, and it took so much and I'm sure this, just it takes so much of your time, but anyway, it was, when we lost,
you fit them into your life, don't you? You just adapt, and they adapt with you, and it's just one of those. And kind of leaving the country for however long, I can take her with me anywhere, but I can't take her to America,
right?
The amount of paperwork and the whole system, and I couldn't put her through it anyway. So I don't know. We'll have to see.
And I totally get it. I mean, if I was in your situation, I'd be saying the same thing that you were saying. And
a lot of people are saying as well, it's just a dog, but this is a bit more than that when you love dogs the way me and Bradley love dogs.
Well, I like dogs more than people, so it seems like in a lot of ways. And we laugh about that, but it's there's a lot of truth to it today. So it's
they don't judge you, do they? They don't. It's just unconditional care and love all the time. There's no arguments. They just when you think about it, we don't speak the same language as dog, but we can communicate better than we can with humans, just with actions. And you make it work, don't you? You find a way to communicate with your with your dog, and it's not just words. There's a lot more to it, but we can't do that with humans a lot of the time, where we can just meet in the middle and understand each other clearly, like you can with a pet.
Right.
I'm rambling a little bit now. It's getting a bit late, isn't it? But yeah,
Well,
it's that form of communication, very simple, and we as humans make life so complicated.
well, I always say that, and I kind of back ended in rescuing older Vizslas, but the one thing I'll say, and I'll leave it alone after that, is I felt like that I rescued them, but at the end they rescued me.
Mm.
That's it made me a better person, because with dogs, they're so vulnerable that, and I know we're Bigfoot channel, haha, but it's just so different. Once they touch your heart, I mean, you're stuck like Chuck, and it's just a beautiful thing. And so, how about those bears? God, I need a beer, whiskey, or and I'm being facetious when I say that, because I'm getting a little fluffy now, but it's just a great thing. And
Yeah,
so,
definitely. And it's not just, I'm not just a Bigfoot channel. Everyone in the chat will know we talk about food, dogs, life, anything.
right.
We're open to anything. But yeah, this is how conversations go sometimes, because life isn't just about Bigfoot. We have like other stuff going on, and our dogs are important to us. I know that. And a lot of
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just saying that it's the first time you and I have really actually talked. And so, even though we're Bigfoot, we've known about each other for so long that it's nice to just, I kind of zoned out for a little while ago, forgetting that we were doing a show, and thought it was a Facebook, FaceTiming or something like that. So,
well, it's not live. We are live, and I've learned a bit more about you. I can hear an alarm going off. Sorry, I thought.
That's the.
You?
I think that's our. Yeah, that's mine. That's a dishwasher saying that I'm done.
Right, there you
It
go.
does like 3 of those irritating beeps. Sorry about that.
That's fine. I don't have a dishwasher, so that makes sense now. That it was yours, not mine.
I know how that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, we've come to our hour. We haven't got through everything, but I'm sure we can do it again another time.
I would love to. I would love to. If you have me back, I will. I would love to do it again. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, you're it's when I've seen you do stuff on Facebook, and when all that kind of stuff got, I really appreciate what you do in this forum, because it's not easy, and you're so even keel, and there's a lot to say about that. So, kudos to you.
Thank you. And you do a great job as well with Kerry on the Late Show. It's a good mix of people. It's good to have diverse opinions, thoughts, and we need it in this subject to keep it current, to keep it going. And like I say, I love doing it. Bigfoot Odyssey's done, changed my life in ways that I wouldn't have thought. And no, I'm not making huge amounts of money. It's not about the money. It's just, like you say, it's a surreal situation to be in, and people don't always realize that. And we don't, like you say, realize that people are watching us. And, sometimes I'm looking at my sub count and thinking, I can't believe these many people are watching my shows, but they are doing. So we must be doing something right.
It's so humbling. I mean, it's just so trippy, and it's hard to, so thankful and very blessed, and so appreciative. And, it's just a very cool, trippy, neat thing. And, just, it's still can't believe it. So
Yeah.
It's
Well,
fun.
look, have you got a show tomorrow night with Kerry? Sunday night? Are you doing one?
I don't know yet.
All right. Okay.
That's usually lately with Kerry working, and he's been pulling 15-hour days. He'll let me know in the afternoon. Oh, by the way, do you want to do a show tonight? Sure.
Get a lot
So
of
it's
notes.
kind of, yeah.
Sorry,
So
voice is going. All right. Well, look, thanks, Brad, for coming on. It's been fun.
it has been fun, and thank you for having me.
Yeah,
It's
you're
been
welcome.
delightful.
Good. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks for your questions. I'm sorry if I've missed some of them, but we will get around to doing it again with Bradley and can go through it all again. I'm back here tomorrow night with Jason for Anything Goes. So until then, everyone, have a great night. Jeff Downson says, Kerry picked you and Bradley. I would have to say he has a keen eye for excellence. You are right, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Jeff. Is that your impression of him?
Yeah, and I haven't done it in a while, so I thought about that the other day that oh yeah, I had Jeff down really good in Florida. Guess I need to start practicing that again to do it.
Yeah.
Come on, it's the fake Jeff Townsend. And he gave me his blessing to do it too, so I need to hone up on that.
Yeah, next time you're back, you can do it. You can just come on as Jeff Townsend.
I should. And we'll just have the blank screen.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll tell some wonderful stories.
Excellent. I look forward to that. All right, everyone. Until the next time, have a good night, and I'll see you all soon. Good night.